Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cruising with the Case Handler. And this is the Immigration Link episode, and we're here again for a great show. Want to welcome my attorneys on board right here on 93.5 WVIP FM and also on social media. If you want to see what we look like, do log on to Facebook, my page, David Squeeze Anarchy, the firm's page, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico, aka PPID, and also on the Case Handler page. And I've got some very stern, firm-looking attorneys this morning ready to represent you in the capacity of immigration. But before we do that, we must remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that you will be getting free phone consultations when you reach out to the firm. So take advantage of it and start calling the firm now. Call them before 9 a.m. and you will be getting those free phone consultations. It's very good to see the attorneys in office. I have Alan E.K., the general, who's going to bring us up to date as to any immigration news that there is. We've got, of course, Nelson Madrid. All right. Got to say pleasant good morning to him. Look very casual in office there in his alligator shirt. And also we have Conrad Pollack looking very lawyerish. Got the props, not propped, I'm just messing with you. Got all the books in the background and everything there. Welcome, gentlemen. How you all feeling today?
Good. Good. Well, good to be back. I haven't been on the show for a while. Good to be back.
Yeah,
and this is my first broadcast from my office.
Yeah, you took hiatus. I mean, seeing that, I'm quite sure we're going to be doing a show from one of the offices very soon, more than likely the Brooklyn office. But it's good to have you all. Today's show is exclusively about immigration. So everyone that's tuning in, get your immigration questions ready. Bring them on, okay? My attorneys here will bring us up to speed. But once again, I implore you, I appeal to you, this is not the time to be doing your cases yourself. There are many positive things that we can do to help you where immigration is concerned. If you have never reached out to an attorney, even if you have done so, get a second opinion by way of PPID. Very, very, very important. We have seen where people have called the firm and realized that, oh, something can be done. Yes, it's extremely important that you get that free phone consultation. And then after that, hire them. Once again, the number here to call the firm is 844-774-3529. Also want to remind you that the firm is not only about immigration. Our Adam Handler is not on the show today because the show is exclusively about immigration. But I want to remind you that he's truly an attorney that is going to treat you like family. He has helped thousands of people in the capacity of personal injury. So if and when you do get hurt, make sure you reach out to Adam Handler. And it's the same number, 844-774-3529. Yesterday, we had a show all on personal injury where we spoke about quite a few cases where he has settled for his clients. With that said, let's jump right into it, gentlemen. It's good to have you all. You all look so vibrant and up. You know, I'm like, wow, these guys, I'm going to get into an office too. You know, I feel left out here, you know. But let's jump right into it. Alan E.K., welcome. You are the general, and if and when you are on the show, it is about immigration news update. It's about updates period. It's about how you feel and think as to what's going on with immigration. We know you've got an intimate connection, okay, with the Department of Homeland Security. We say that because of your tenure in, of course, the area of immigration law. So what's happening, my man?
Okay, so let's talk about some of the things we've been following. First of all, this is not something we've been following, but the Holtzville USCIS office is closed today because of the storm. So if you live on Long Island and you had some business with the Holtzville USCIS office, closed today and maybe closed tomorrow while they try to get their power up. Okay, next, let's talk about fee increases. Very important. On July 30th, USCIS proposed fee increases, and the fee increases were an average of 20% across the board. Now, the inflation rate in the United States is 7%, but what they're doing is they're tripling the fees. And one of the most significant fees that they're tripling is the fee for naturalization, which is going up from $565 to $1,100.
Wow.
So if you're planning to file for naturalization, do it now. you've got the new fees go into effect October 2. So if you want to save money and pay a $565 fee for your citizenship case instead of $1,100, file now. Okay. The last raise that the USCIS did was 2016, and these fees basically pay for their entire budget. And as I say, the inflation rate is 7%, but they're doing a tripling of fees. Okay, so that's really significant fee increases. Next, we've been talking about furloughs. The USCIS was planning to furlough 13,000 employees out of 20,000 because they had a budget shortfall. They've requested $1.2 billion in emergency funding from Congress. The Senate adjourns August 10th. So we have to wait and see if the Senate is going to give them the money they need so they won't have to furlough people, because if they furlough people, basically USCIS is going to shut down. And if you filed for citizenship and your case is being processed and they have a furlough, you're not going to become a citizen and you won't be able to register for vote this year. Next, public charge. We all know about the terrible public charge regulations they put into effect, but the Second Circuit, which is a federal court in New York, has now put a hold on the public charge regulations. So right now you don't have to file this 944. You don't have to worry about public charge right now, because that's been knocked out while this is going on. Interesting, today or yesterday, a federal court in Maryland, the Fourth Circuit basically said that can go. It stopped the court case on public charge, but in New York, public charge, no, not right now. Okay, next, DACA. We know that the Supreme Court put out a decision which was favorable, didn't let the Trump administration knock out DACA. But the Trump administration will now reject any new requests for DACA, and they will limit renewals to 1 year. Whether that they're going to get away with that, whether somebody's going to go to court and try to stop that, well, at least we know right now, if you have a DACA renewal coming up, you're only going to get a year. And they won't accept new cases, even though they should. That may have to go to court. Finally, card production. We talked about how USCIS was printing their cards in two places, in Kentucky and in Missouri. They shut down the card facility in Kentucky, didn't tell Congress about it, didn't announce anybody about it, but this is now resulting in massive delays in getting your green cards and getting your work permits. And as of July 9th, there were 50,000 green cards waiting to be produced and 75,000 employment authorization documents waiting to be produced that haven't been printed yet. Now, a lawyer in Ohio, who I happen to know, Rob Cohen, went to court and got them to force them to issue the work permits. So the court case that he was successful in, they have to be issuing the work permits, but the green cards, I think, are still on hold. So this is something to watch about card production. So those are the things we've been following now: the fee increase, the furlough, where immigration proposed to furlough 13,000 employees because of their lack of money. It was supposed to start August 3rd. It's been pushed back to August 31st. They've requested $1.2 billion in emergency funds from Congress. If they get it, maybe there won't be a furlough. If they don't get it and there is a furlough, immigration is going to basically shut down. So that's the latest news. And since the Senate recesses August 10th, we'll know soon, maybe by the next program, is there going to be a furlough or not? Are they going to get the money they want or not? So that's the latest news. And we're open for business now to take your questions.
I'm sorry, actually, very quickly, Alan may have misspoke or gotten a little confused. The filing fee for citizenship is $725 at the moment.
Including the fingerprint fee.
Right, that's including the fingerprint. So the fee is set to increase till to what, Alan? $1,100?
Yes.
Right. So it's 725. I think Alan had said it was 500 or something. So I just wanted to correct that.
Going from 725 to 1,100,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I wanted to expand on that. I want people to really take this very, very seriously. In a time like this, where we have a pandemic and we have virus issues and all of that, you don't want to be wasting any more money. As it is, it's tough with getting money. So right now is the time to file, and this is a priority in your life. You may want to reach out to the attorneys, get your filings going right now, and save a lot of money. It's not even, I mean, I'm listening to the rates and the rise in fees. It's unbelievable how they just jack up the fees. That's exactly what they do. They just jack you. So now
they did claim that it's been a few years. I don't remember the last time, but it's been at least 3 years.
2016 was the last time.
Yeah, so it's been a while. So typically they raise fees every year or two, usually every 2 years. So this time around, it took them a long time to get with it. So that's why I guess it's the equivalent of 2 fee increases this time around.
What's Conrad? Alan, how can you raise fees in a time like this? People are looking to push back elections, but we're not looking to push back fees, that can affect a people. I mean, come on, this is incredible. The things that they're supposed to be pushing back on, they're not pushing back on it. I'm simply saying to the people that's listening here, you're listening to a great show, Cruising with a Case Handler, the Immigration Link episode. And I'm saying, every one of you, if you have not filed your cases, now is the time to file. Call the attorneys and let them do it for you. Save some money on the fees. It's ridiculous. The number to call right now is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. 844-774-3529. Yeah.
David, the fee increase is it's indicative of the overall attitude of the administration, as we're always saying. They're not here to help you. Immigration has never been your friend. And that is doubly so today. The administration, their goal is to end immigration as we know it. They're not here to help anybody. They're looking to stop the flow of immigrants to this country, for whatever their convoluted reasons are. So the fee increase, to me, that's the least surprising thing to me that they've done. I mean, I'm surprised it took them this long.
All right. So what do you guys think about the show on Netflix, Immigration Nation? I happen to have started watching it. In my own words, I would say it's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
It's the reality of the environment, of the climate that we're currently in. In fact, there's an immigration judge who basically says that they have weaponized the immigration courts.
Yes.
Immigration judges, just so you know, Squeeze, are supposed to literally, there is a policy that says they are supposed to conclude 700 cases a year, which would be the equivalent of 58 cases a month. And if they don't complete those cases, they get a negative review. And as a result, with enough negative reviews, they could lose their job.
Yeah, this is a quota that the Trump administration created. This never existed before. There never was a quota for immigration judges having to complete a case within a period of time. Now, under the Trump administration, they created this quota, and as Nelson says, if the judges don't finish this amount of cases within the specified period of time, they get a negative rating, and eventually they get booted. So clearly, the goal is obvious. They're trying to move these cases as quickly as possible, regardless of the outcome.
It's so bad, man. I'm watching the show and tears literally came to mind when I saw that kid with her father. And you're talking about quotas. There are actually quotas on the show. And by the way, folks, if you're talking about what we're talking about, we're speaking about a show on Netflix, a documentary called Immigration Nation, where they're following these ICE police officers around with cameras, real live stuff. They're actually, the bosses are telling these guys on the road, hey, you better make sure you come in with X amount of people. That's all I want to know.
And videotaping the people who they do arrest, giggling, laughing, making jokes about it.
And making joke of them. Hey, look at this one in the bullpen. And videotaping and all of that. They're teasing these people, provoking these people, and it's making Anyway, listen, we're here to help. And that's what Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico is all about. As a law firm, we are here to help. We're just bringing to you the reality of what's happening in the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. And that's the reason why we've got attorneys such as Alan E.K., Conrad Pollack, and Nelson Madrid, and they're here to answer your immigration questions. If you want your questions answered for free, make sure you call now, this number, off air if you want to get them answered for free. Call off air now. The number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. Place your questions also on our Facebook pages, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico, the Case Handlers page, or David Squeezaniki's page. First question here, gentlemen. I need more info on the I-944. I'm reading on the USCIS website that it doesn't have to be filed now. The form doesn't even come out anymore. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, that's the public charge. That's the declaration of self-sufficiency, and that's what we just spoke about. As a result of a federal lawsuit, basically a judge said that you can't enforce that, or you can't require that now in the middle of a pandemic where so many people are unemployed and have lost their jobs. So for the moment in New York, it's not required. Obviously, at some point, when this pandemic is over, or when it's at least under control, it'll probably go back into effect.
Well, that's only so if Trump gets reelected. If Trump loses in November, that form will go away. So again, one additional reason, if anybody needs additional reasons to vote against Trump and to vote for Biden in November, there it is. If you have relatives that are applying, or friends, or important people in your lives that are applying for their green cards that maybe don't make, a lot of money, then you don't want Trump to be president, because if he is, this public charge rule is going to come into effect at some point when the pandemic ends, whenever that is. But it's just one more piece of bad news if Trump gets reelected. But I wanted to say, David, you were talking about Immigration Nation, the Netflix documentary. It's fascinating, the backstory. The government, it was the government's idea to hire these documentarians. It's a husband and wife team, and get them to come and film behind the scenes. It was done 2-3 years ago. And they figured, this would be a great propaganda thing for the government. They can show what great services our people are providing. So anyway, I guess the filmmakers had different ideas, and especially once they saw what was going on behind the scenes, because they're actually in the cars riding with these people. They're riding with the agents, and they're filming them knocking on the doors at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're trying to round these people up. I mean, it's fascinating. But the government, when they saw the finished product, they threatened to sue. In fact, they did bring a suit to try to prevent it from being aired until after the election. The lawsuit was brought by the federal government against the filmmakers, basically saying, you cannot show this film until after the election. Anyway, they lost, obviously, because it's on Netflix now. But It's really eye-opening to see what the government is capable of. And, for all you people out there that are doing cases on your own, if something goes wrong, you could be one of those people that these ICE agents are knocking on the door of. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This is real life. I mean, you need to look at this, see what goes on this documentary. It's a 6-part series, by the way. I mean, there's a lot to it. But all you need to do is watch the first episode, and you'll see what you're facing.
That's what I did.
People out there trying to do cases on your own. If it goes south and the case gets denied, you end up in removal proceedings. You could be one of your front door could be one of those doors that they're knocking.
Right, you could be collateral.
That's right.
Collateral's
right. Collateral meaning, what they do is they come knocking on the door looking for someone in particular. Possibly he's a criminal, probably he's not. But then if anybody else doesn't have their paperwork that happens to be in the apartment at the time, they take them in as well. And that's what they call collaterals. But this is serious business.
Absolutely. Let me give out the number, and then Nelson, you can respond. Once again, folks, if you're joining us, this is a show on immigration. Today, we're doing exclusively immigration questions, immigration input, immigration update. We are doing it with PPID because Nelson's going to ask me a question and I'm going to respond respectively and appropriately, as we always do. What's the question you got for me, Nelson?
No, it's not a question. What I was
No. That's not a question you're supposed to ask me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You down with PPID?
You know me. All right. Nobody asked me that. You got to ask me that. That's what gets the show going right here. So the number for PPID, ladies and gentlemen, anybody out there, if you need immigration help, it's very important to dial this number, get a free phone consultation, but more importantly, hire Conrad Pollack, hire Nelson Madrid, hire Alan EK. They are attorneys and they're all about helping you. If you can't be helped, they'll tell you and they won't take your case. But if you can be helped, they'll let you know. The number is 844-774-3529. Call now for a free phone consultation. 844-774-3529. Yes, Nelson.
I just wanted to say, people do have rights. And even though you are detained, or if you were to be detained, you can fight a case. Something that I typically recommend all my clients do is, if they are encountered by ICE, simply be very respectful and say, listen, I have a lawyer. I don't feel comfortable answering your questions. I don't feel comfortable signing any documents. When my lawyer is present, I will speak with you. When my lawyer is present, I will sign documents. I have heard of cases where people sign a removal order and don't even know what they've signed. It's a very stressful situation. Not everyone is necessarily subject to mandatory detention. And I'll talk about mandatory detention momentarily, but something a lot of people don't understand also is being a permanent resident is a privilege. What does that mean? That means if you are outside of the country for an extended period of time, or if you are arrested and convicted of certain crimes, immigration can try to take your green card away. Okay? Being a lawful permanent resident does not grant you indefinite status. Okay? And people need to keep this in mind because many people don't understand. A lot of people serve a 5-year probation and on the last day of probation, they get picked up, So it's things you need to be aware of. Also, some people file their own cases and have a conviction, have a conviction that may make them inadmissible. Maybe they need a waiver, but they don't know that they need a waiver. So now they file their case on their own. They've spent money. They go in person and the officer says, you need a waiver. They have no idea what they're talking about. And again, there's a big difference in price between filing for adjustment of status with USCIS and, proceeding with adjustment of status before an immigration judge. And I want to talk quickly about mandatory detention. Mandatory detention applies to those released from custody after October 9th, 1998. And these are just general rules. Someone considered an arriving alien is ineligible for bond. Mandatory detention pretty much means you have to fight your case from inside an immigration jail, okay? For a permanent resident, if you are convicted of 2 crimes involving moral turpitude, you are subject to mandatory detention. If you are convicted of an aggravated felony, if you are convicted of a controlled substance offense, a firearm offense, you have to fight your case from jail. Chances are you...
In other words, Nelson, you're saying if they're not a citizen, pretty much, and
Correct.
they have any of what it is that you're speaking about, they can't be out on the street. They're, in other words, in not so many words, they're not going to get bail. They've got to fight for themselves behind bars. In other words, they have to retain an attorney or fight independently to get themselves out of the situation from behind bars.
That's correct. And those cases also move very quickly because you're being housed or detained at government expense. So those cases move very rapidly. Now, if you're placed in removal proceedings and you don't have one of those, or if you're detained and placed into removal proceedings and you don't have one of those convictions, you are eligible for bond. Now, obviously, the bond amount would depend on the ties that you have to the United States, whether your parents are here legally, whether you're married, whether your spouse is here legally, whether you've been working at the same job for 15 years, whether you have children, whether you attend church, whether you're active in your community. All of these are typically factors that the immigration judge takes into consideration when he grants bond. For those people who are here illegally, one, conviction for a crime involving moral turpitude would subject you to mandatory detention. One controlled substance offense conviction would subject you to mandatory detention. A drug trafficking offense, domestic violence, those convictions would subject you to mandatory detention. And those are people who are here now who have no status. And unfortunately, what happens is many people try to file their case on their own. They have one of those convictions. They think, oh, well, this happened. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. Well, this happened more than 10 years ago. That's erased. I don't know who told people that a criminal conviction from more than 10 years ago is erased, but it's not. You know, it's not. So, you know, you've put yourself on the radar. Now immigration knows where you live, where you work, who you're married to, where your kids go to school. They know everything about you. You've got one of these convictions. Your case is denied. You forget about it. But then all of a sudden there's a knock on your door. You know, so you want to be very, very careful.
No, you want to use an attorney. That's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason why, 1 minute, Alan, that's the reason why it's very important that you call this number, 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. That is the number for the law firm PPID, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico. If you call them now, you will get a 100% free phone consultation off the air, privately and confidentially, upon after which you can actually retain the attorneys. Let me give the numbers slowly. 844-774-3529. That's 844-PPID law. This question is for you, Alan, and you can say what you want to say after you answer this question or after. Hey, I was wondering if anyone knows how long it is to get their EAD card during the pandemic. I applied for adjustment of status in May, and I've only received receipts at this stage. Any information would be amazing. Thank you. Alan.
The normal processing time was, before things hit the fan, was about 3 to 5 months. But as I just said at the beginning of the program, they stopped issuing cards. They closed down the facility in Kentucky, which issued the cards. They have a smaller facility, which they're working cards from. And there's a lawsuit which was successful that forced them now to issue the working cards. So hopefully the working cards will come through now, but they're about 50,000 or 70,000 working cards waiting to be produced. Hopefully this lawsuit by this gentleman who I know, and he won the case and forcing them to issue. So hopefully the cards will come through soon. Now I wanted to follow something that Nelson said about being on the radar. The question is, how do you have a criminal conviction? How do you come to their attention? Well, you come to their attention if you file for naturalization without talking to an attorney. If you travel outside the United States and you come back in, and at the airport they pick up that you have a conviction. So if you have a conviction, don't travel without talking to one of us. Don't file for citizenship without talking to one of us, because you're going to be calling yourself to the attention of USCIS and may wind up, as Nelson said, in a removal proceeding.
Right. And as good as Nelson is, it is extremely important before you do all of that, that you reach out to the firm and ask for him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's that good. The number once again is 844-774-3529. This is a special episode on immigration, on Cruising with the Case Handler, which comes your way 8:30 a.m. each and every single weekday morning, 7 p.m. Saturdays, 12 noon on Sundays. A quick one for you here, Conrad, before we get to the top of the hour. You got 60 seconds. Good morning. How are you? I have an immigration question. I am a U.S. citizen in Georgia, filing for mom, visa holder, living in New Jersey. Can she do her medical in Jersey since her case will be filed in Georgia?
Yes. Where she does the medical is irrelevant. As long as it's done at a proper facility on the list that immigration provides, she can take the medical wherever she wants to take it.
But she can't do the medical until they ask her to do that. They send her a notice to go for a medical.
Okay, beautiful. And ladies and gentlemen, you can hear and see and feel the depth of these great attorneys with the law firm that's been around for just about 60 years, Pollack, Isaac, and DeSico. We refer to them as PPID. Nelson spoke extensively about you having run-ins with the law. Why? Because we call him the Maverick, okay? He handles those cases at the firm, all right? So we have, of course, the Alan EKs, who has that, like I noted, intimate connection with the Department of Homeland Security, for lack of a better word. It's because he has the connections. He can pick up the phone, he can email, he can reach out to people there. Conrad Pollack is the managing partner at the firm. Once again, great attorneys, phenomenal firm. Reach out to them now. Let me give you the phone number a few more times before we get to the top of the hour. We continue on Facebook. All right. The number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. When you dial that number, tell them that you want a free phone consultation off the air. 844-774-3529. Call now. 844-774-3529. Let's go to the top.
It's 9 o'clock.
All right, there we go. We got some more questions here, but one of the questions I wanted to ask you, attorneys, all right, is I wanted you guys to expound on VAWA, what it is, how it can help, can it still help people in this climate, and what's going on? Any of you?
Sure. I'm on a roll today, right? So VAWA is the Violence Against Women Act. Both men and women can file and apply for VAWA. One of the first things you have to demonstrate is that you were married to either a permanent resident or a United States citizen. The next thing you have to demonstrate is that you entered into the marriage in good faith, okay? Not obviously for the purposes of obtaining an immigration benefit. So you're gonna need evidence, right? Evidence would include, pictures, bank statements, credit cards, mail, showing that you both lived at the same address.
But Nelson, isn't the violent act itself, let's say someone hit someone, hurt someone, them going to the hospital, isn't that enough evidence?
No, not necessarily.
The crap beaten out of them?
You're also speaking in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. Many times abuse comes in many different shapes, sizes, and forms. Mm-hmm. I've done cases where, the abuse might be financial, might be verbal. Abuse isn't always only physical, so, yes, obviously if you have physical abuse, if you have an order of protection, great, you've got a stronger case, but those aren't the only cases that go forward on VAWA. Let me give you an example. We represented a gentleman who filed VAWA against his spouse. She would basically go out with him in social settings and verbally degrade him in front of people. When I want to, I can have you deported. You need me. I could call immigration right now and he's out of the country. She would also do other things that obviously I can't talk about on the air. But this is what I'm saying. Abuse comes in many different ways. In fact, my client was arrested because he hit a breaking point one day, started drinking and just snapped, because he could no longer tolerate the abuse. Now for VAWA, that's an exception. Although he was arrested, obviously given the circumstances, given his living situation, we were able to overcome that and successfully get him VAWA. Another requirement is that you suffered battery or extreme cruelty at the hands of your spouse, that you're a person of good moral character, and that basically you deserve this benefit because it is a benefit. VAWA is a lot different than a U visa, okay? Many people that are the victims of domestic violence are also eligible for a U visa, but what's the difference? With VAWA,
what is the U visa?
U visa is for crime victims, and domestic violence is a qualifying crime. Now, the U visa is different because if you are the victim of domestic violence, you basically have to cooperate with law enforcement, right? In order to get a benefit, you got to cooperate with law enforcement. If at any point you stop cooperating with law enforcement, they could pull the certification and you get no benefit. A U visa also takes a lot longer than VAWA. VAWA typically takes about, depending, you could do VAWA either one step or two step. Either you could first file your application for VAWA with the supporting evidence. Once that's approved.
In other words, in not so many words, they're not going. Go ahead.
Once that's approved, you can then file for employment authorization and adjustment of status, or you can do it all in one step and do everything in one shot. Some people prefer the two-step because if the I-360 is denied, if your VAWA application is denied, then your adjustment of status is denied. And the filing fee for adjustment of status is $1,225. So some people prefer to file for adjustment of status after the I-360 is approved because it's less of a risk.
Well, Nelson, also, isn't it another major difference for VAWA? You have to be married, no? But you don't.
Correct. Also, with VAWA, you just have to call the police. You don't necessarily have to cooperate and have your husband or your wife prosecuted. In fact, we've done VAWA cases where the couple is still together. They're still married.
Wow.
He or she kept threatening their spouse and telling them, I'm not going to file for you. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do anything on your behalf. And, the person is sitting at home. I mean, literally, the spouse who is here legally is controlling that other person because of their status.
An important difference also with between the you and the VAWA case. Again, the VAWA in the VAWA case, they have to be married, and you have to demonstrate that even though you might not be married anymore, that the abuse occurred before, during, after the marriage. But you have to show that it was a legitimate marriage. You can't just move in with a guy for a week.
Can't be a common law marriage.
He slaps you around a few times and then you separate. That's probably not going to cut it. But so you do need to be involved in engaged in a bona fide marriage in order to be eligible for a VAWA. For the U visa, you don't. In fact, we have a new case we just signed up recently last week. A young lady from Brazil. In fact, she came here with a student visa, and we were trying to figure out how we can extend it and change her status to tourist possibly. And then we get to talking about her personal relationship, and she's telling me about this boyfriend that she's been living with, who's a citizen, and how abusive he's been, and he stole. In fact, the reason that she came in the first place to extend her status was because he stole her passport. And he stole all the documentation. So we're talking about it, and I'm saying, and she's got a police report against him, and the guy is crazy, and he's this, and he's abusive, he's violent, and I'm saying, we're going in the wrong direction here. So I get Mr. Maverick on the phone, and we're talking about this, and we're saying, hey, isn't this a U visa? Yeah, they're not married. I mean, they lived together for a while. I mean, even though that wasn't even necessary that they lived together. But the fact is, she got a police report against this guy. She has an order of protection against this guy because he's abusive. We are now doing a U visa for this person.
What is her status?
She's out of status.
Okay.
She had a student visa. It expired. And one of the reasons it expired was because of the pandemic. School went out. And then her boyfriend stole her passport, stole all her documents. So she didn't know what the date was.
But
So
people are afraid to call the police when they're out of status. So
yeah.
But that's a big, and I'm glad we're talking about this now. That's a big mistake. In fact,
not to call the police.
Not to call the police.
Especially New York. New York, they're not going to come. New York is a sanctuary city. They're not going to arrest you if you're illegal.
And not only that, just listen, I had a case where a woman was the victim of domestic violence. Long story short, her husband was arrested. She refused to cooperate. Part of the process for a U visa is the law enforcement agency has to certify. They have to verify what you're saying is true, that you were the victim of domestic violence, that you cooperated or you had information that would be useful in that investigation, and they have to sign something. They have to basically, it's called a certification. Now, if you don't cooperate, they're not going to certify. In fact, I've gotten letters where they say, you know what, we arrested him, but then the girlfriend refused to cooperate. And thus we're not interested in helping her. She didn't help us. We're not going to help her.
Interesting.
So it's very, very important. As you would say, it behooves all victims of crimes. Squeeze, just yesterday, and I was talking to Conrad about this morning.
Write a number for me, Nelson.
Sure. It's 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. I was speaking with Conrad about this morning. I was at the Peekskill office yesterday, and I went out for lunch with a friend. And the restaurant I went to, I had spoken with the manager on previous occasions. He knew I was an attorney. He told me that apparently a couple of months ago, there was a fight at the restaurant. Someone pulled out a knife, slashed him, and he got 13 stitches on his wrist.
Wow.
And he showed me the cut. And he told me that he's been cooperating and that the perpetrator had agreed to a 4-year sentence, but the judge believes he deserves more than just 4 years. I explained to the manager of the restaurant where I was having lunch that I would definitely be able to assist both him and his wife. Because with the U visa, it's not just the victim, it's the victim and his spouse and any minor children that they may have who have no status. So, you know, that's a perfect example. You know, my client suffered a 13-inch gash on his wrist. He was cut with a knife. He's been cooperating with law enforcement. He's got no status. And as a result, you know, I think it's a quid pro quo where law enforcement basically says, you're helping us, we're going to help you. And now, you know, the only downside of a U visa is it takes many years because there's only 10,000 U visas available for the entire United States. So typically you're looking at about a 6 or 8 year wait, but nevertheless, you know, you're on your path to legalizing your status. And
you are protected while it's filed?
Absolutely. And that's what I was about to say. Now you've got a receipt notice. God forbid, you know, you are encountered by ICE. You can pull out your receipt notice. They can check their system and they're going to know you're in the process of legalizing your status. Typically, someone who has applied for a U visa, you know, the important thing with ICE is ICE wants to know, even if you're here illegally, that you're doing something to legalize your status. You're not just sitting down at home with your arms crossed doing nothing. So if this gentleman were to be encountered by ICE, he could pull out his receipts, demonstrate he's got a case filed, they can verify, and he'll be okay. And they will allow his case to be adjudicated. And ultimately, he will get a green card.
So just to summarize, we're talking about U visa for victims of crimes. We're talking about VAWA, which is called the Violence Against Women Act, but it also can apply to violence against men. And today I'm going to be on a 2-hour program where they're going to be talking about violence against men being subject to VAWA and being able to benefit. So keep in mind the two different things: U visa, victims of crime; VAWA, Violence Against Women or Men Act.
Absolutely. And here's one from the Facebook page. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, attorneys. The number, once again, for the firm happens to be 844-774-3529. Phenomenal show so far. Getting a lot of information. Ladies and gentlemen, we're being so educated. However, it is extremely important that you get your personal private consultation with one of these attorneys. Dial the number 844-774-3529 and get yours off air. Here's one from Denisa Joseph. Want to say thank you so much for sharing Denisa Joseph on Facebook. Carolyn Anderson, the Tiger, Linda Shaw, and the others. Denisa said, Squeeze, got a question for you. Well, it's not for me, it's for the attorneys. My husband don't watch the program because he's at work, but I do and inform him. He's in the US, but I'm not. Can he call in for that free consultation? Of course he can, right? I can answer that question, right? He can call in regardless of the fact that he's at work, right, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
All right. Here's a question for you, Conrad. If a U.S. citizen petitioner has filed a family-sponsored visa application for his married son, Indian citizen, and grandchild, who was 15 years old when the application was filed in 2011, how long does it take to get a green card based on this scenario? And which age do they consider for application of grandchildren in this file? Age at the time of petition or current age? And I did that verbatim. What, is it me? I'm not hearing it.
You said that it's a U.S. citizen applying for married son, married daughter?
U.S. citizen, yeah, U.S. citizen files a family-sponsored visa application for his married son, yes.
That's a third preference petition. Right now, cases of that nature, they're working on applications that were filed in 2009 currently. So do the math, 10 to 12 years a case like that takes. Unfortunately for the child, what's going to be relevant is the child's age as of the date that the visa application is ready to go, when they have their appointment. If the child was 15 years old, I think in 2011, which means the case is still pending, if that's when they filed, the kid is now 24 or whatever, odds are he's not going to be eligible to accompany, but it's important to look at the date of the petition being filed and the date when it was approved. The period of time between the date that petition was filed and the date that it was approved can be used under what's called the CSPA, Child Status Protection Act, to reduce the age of the child. So in other words, child is 25 today. If it took 5 years for that petition to be approved, by law, you can deduct that 5-year period from the age of that child on the day of the interview. So if he's 25, you deduct 5, that makes him 20 on the day of the interview for legal purposes, which means he would be inclusive. He would be able to accompany. This is a little complicated, which is why you should call a lawyer like me, right? Because I can explain this to you.
No, that's the reason why they should call you. 844-774-3529, 844-PPID-LAW. Here's another one. Hello, I'm a green card holder. I petitioned for my husband, and I'm using a Medicaid insurance because I just had a baby this year of February. I can't work for now as I am still taking care of my baby. My question is, will my husband be exempted to public charge during his interview, even though I am using Medicaid, or do I need to cancel my Medicaid insurance?
I wouldn't cancel the Medicaid insurance. I have to just check, but it seems to me that would be okay. And that'll only come up at the time of the interview, which could be a year or two from now, and maybe won't need Medicaid then, but it seems to me off the top of my head that you should be okay on Medicaid.
You know,
he's certainly not exempt. There is no such thing.
Just to add, Medicaid, if you take Medicaid during an emergency, such as childbirth, it's typically not an issue. If you're just on Medicaid because you want to be on Medicaid and there's no medical emergency, that's a problem. Okay, but you know, I hear this question often, and again, it's okay for the mother, obviously, while giving birth, to be on Medicaid because she needs medical care. You know, that's considered, again, emergency medical care.
And when she goes to when the interview comes up, she may not be on Medicaid anymore.
Right.
That's true. Once again, folks, the number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. Last night at around 1:45 a.m., someone sent me this directly. All right. I am a VAWA applicant and married to a permanent resident of the United States, which is what led me to ask that question earlier. We have 3 children. 2 of them are American citizens. My husband beat me and threatened to report me with immigration and forced me to leave the USA. I sent my I-360 application from Mexico, and I'm still waiting if they approve me. But my husband continues to threaten to kill me and take our children. He sends me offensive texts, and I fear for my life and that of my children. In March of this year, I had attempted kidnapping. I had attempted kidnapping and made a complaint. I would like to know if I can request a humanitarian permit or refuge to protect my children and me while I wait for the decision of my I-360. I have the messages that my husband sends me as proof. Should I send a letter to the USCIS telling what is happening to me, or would it affect my I-360 application? I replied, call PPID 844-774-3529. That's what I did last night. Gentlemen, any reply to it?
I would definitely say I think she needs to give us a call. I'm not sure I follow her story. So she left to Mexico because she was scared and she wants humanitarian parole to come back in.
I don't know.
That's why you know, look, Squeeze, in a lot of these, you know, when we answer questions, we're providing general information. It should not be construed as legal advice. You know, right. We're hearing snippets or bits and pieces of questions, and we're obviously many times assuming facts not necessarily provided by the person. VAWA is somewhat complex. It's not necessarily straightforward. Yeah, she's eligible for VAWA. I imagine her VAWA should continue, but I would need to ask more questions before I could provide a definitive answer. So I think she should definitely feel free to give us a call. It's a free phone consultation. There's no cost to speaking with an attorney on the phone and just getting some advice. As I said before, I'm not sure, so she left because she was scared, but now she wants to come back in. So if she comes back in, wouldn't the threat be more imminent than if she stays in Mexico?
Yeah. I'm also going to give you the number for you to call her. But I gave her the 212 number because evidently she's out of the country based on the number that she texted me from. All right. So right. I will send you the number and you can reach out to her. But
and also, just to add, yes, saving text messages, saving phone calls, saving police reports, all of that is evidence of abuse, and obviously, if need be, many times when you deal with VAWA, immigration issues what's called a request for evidence, and they want to see any additional or updated evidence you may have. Obviously, that's something she would want to provide. You know what, David? Actually, you should have her email us.
Okay.
And schedule, because Mexico's an international call.
Yeah. What's the email address you want me to give them?
res@ppid.com.
Okay, done. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Maverick, he was on fire today.
On fire.
Alan, thanks for the news update. And Conrad, thanks for being so moderate today. Great show. I'm just messing with you all. Fabulous show, phenomenal show. And I want to thank you all so much for what it is that you're doing for the communities out there from all over. This has been Cruising with the Case Handler, the Immigration Link episode and special. And I believe we got through a wealth of questions and we heard a lot of information from all of you. And I do appreciate it. However, everyone out there, please dial the number, get a free phone consultation with one of the attorneys. Okay, and then after that, you can choose to hire them. I would. The number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. And for the individual outside of the country, I also gave them the 212 number. Hopefully, that's the one from the website. I gave that to them also. So once again, the number is 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. Carolyn Anderson, the Tiger, everybody on Facebook, thank you so much for sharing. You all did a wonderful job. Our numbers were up today on Facebook, so that was great. Thank you all so much. With that said, we got to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that yes, this has been an attorney advertisement, and prior results will not guarantee similar outcome, but please make sure you reach out to one of the attorneys and speak to them for free over the phone. The number, 844-774-3529. That's 844-774-3529. Thank you all so much, gentlemen. Have yourself an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thanks.